Okay, I got a good one for you today. I apologize. My allergies are still bugging me. I think I've got a bit of a cold. I got my water here. Hopefully, I can get through the video. Tack för sist. Välkommen tillbaka. So, this video, this story, is about an ex-girlfriend from long ago. I asked my wife if it was cool to tell this story, and she said yes. But what makes this story really cool is, I've always believed there's more out there that we don't see. I've talked in some of my videos about some of my, I don't know, experiences that are supernatural, whatever you want to call them. This is along those lines, but it's more, can minds be connected across long distances? Because after you hear this story, if you believe me, I think you'll agree that they can. So I met this girl in the early summer of '86, and we dated that whole summer. We were inseparable. I fell hard for her. I think she fell pretty hard for me. But when the fall came, I was going back to Provo, Utah. She was going up to Edmonton, Alberta, to the University of Alberta. And there were a couple things going on, but one of the main things was, how are we going to do a 1,500-mile apart relationship? And it's not like it is now where you could just talk on the phone endlessly or text or FaceTime. It was expensive just to do long distance calls. And I was a poor college student, and so was she. So, it didn't work real well. I had this old Toyota Celica, as we say in America, but that's the Canadian still in me. And the good thing was gas was pretty cheap. I think gas was, I don't know, 80 cents a gallon, something like that. And that car got like 40 miles per gallon. So at least that part was manageable. Well, when I got back to BYU, she started sending me letters, really intense letters. Like the outside of the letter she'd put little stickers on it with hearts and I love you. And it was, didn't take a lot of convincing because, like I said, I fell pretty hard for this girl. In fact, she's a big reason my first marriage failed. I was still completely in love with her. Of course, my ex-wife was in love with her ex-boyfriend too, so it's amazing we lasted as long as we did. But we got a beautiful daughter out of that, 4 gorgeous grandkids. I got no regrets. But we decided to get back together, and we're like, well, how's this going to work, I actually withdrew from BYU. I mean, I stayed that semester, but I was going to transfer to the University of Alberta. And I cannot remember if I went up once or twice. It's a long freaking drive. It's around, I think it's 13 to 1,500 miles. I could be off a little bit. It was a long, long drive. And I remember just having a couple of cassettes, maybe a few, but my favorite one was England Dan and John Ford Coley, Greatest Hits, and it was awesome. So anytime I hear a song by them, I think about her. So, like I said, I can't remember if I went up once or twice, but if it was twice, the second time was just an amazing weekend. Her roommates were out of town, and it was just her and I, and we went sightseeing. We went to the West Edmonton Mall, if you've ever been there. It was the biggest mall in the world forever. Now the one in Minneapolis is, but West Edmonton Mall is gigantic. If you're ever up there, you got to go check it out. And we just had this magical 3 days, I think it was. It was just amazing. But the last night that I'm there, pretty late, I want to say it was, I don't know, it was dark for sure, and it was probably October. So it was probably 8 at night or maybe later because it was dark. And she told me she wanted to break up after this weekend. I was like, holy crap, you got to, what? I just drove halfway across the country to come see you. We just had an amazing weekend together. What are you talking about? And I was devastated. I had kind of moved on. When we broke up at the end of the summer, I had decided, okay, it's not going to work. Maybe we'll meet up again sometime, and who knows. But when she started writing me, I was like, all right, I'll try and make this work. So I was just crushed. I mean, just crushed. That drive back home to, well, not home, but back to Provo, BYU, was the longest day of my life. I think I did it all in one stretch. Probably, it had to be 20 hours. And there was a brutal drive. Good grief. And very sad, very depressed, very down. I got back to Provo, and for at least a month or 6 weeks, I had a hard time concentrating on class, on doing anything. And, a couple of my friends, my roommates, tried to get me to go do stuff. And I finally did go on a couple of dates, and I even started dating a girl, but I was so hooked on this girl still. So fast forward, this would have been the fall of 87. So about a year later, I had moved on. It's probably been 6 months since I had decided, all right, it's not going to happen. I had heard she had gotten engaged. I'm like, all right, I'm fine. I've moved on. I had not thought about her for probably 5 or 6 months. And that's kind of key to this. So I go to bed one night, and I dream a lot. And sometimes I can remember my dreams. You know how dreams are? Sometimes they fade really fast when you wake up. If you don't write them down, you're just going to forget them. Well, I had this dream that lasted, it seemed like the whole night. It was just, if I wake up a lot because I have some sleep apnea, but I go back to sleep, right back into the dream. And it was all about her. It was intense. It was so real. And when I woke up, I was completely back in love with this girl again. It was like several months had been compressed into this one night, and we had been dating again. And I told one of my roommates, one of my buddies, he's still one of my best friends. In fact, he's my brother-in-law now, about this dream. And he's like, that's kind of crazy. And I said, yeah, I haven't thought about her in 5, 6 months. Here comes the crazy part. So at this point, I knew she was engaged. That night, I'm done classes. I'm back at my room watching TV, whatever I was doing, hanging out with my buddies. The phone rings. And somebody says, hey, Arnold, it's for you. It's some chick. I said, oh. I'd been on a couple dates. I was like, maybe one of them's calling me. I get on the phone, and it's her. I'm like, holy crap. Trying to debate if I should use her name. I think I can use her first name. I mean, people that know me will probably know who she is, but you probably already figured that out anyway. And I said, Karen, what's going on? Aren't you engaged? And she goes, I had to call you because last night I had the most intense dream that lasted all night long, and it was all about me and you. I just got chills. And I just froze on the phone. I was like, holy crap. We both had the same experience. And she said the same thing. She hadn't thought about me for several months. And I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. And and she was saying, are you there? Are you okay? What do you think about this? I didn't tell her that I had had the same experience. I knew why she was calling. At least in my head, I knew. If she ever sees this video, maybe she'll say, no, that's not why I called. I don't know. But it was crazy. In my head, she wanted me to talk her out of marrying this dude and getting back together with me. And to this day, I do not know why I didn't say anything. I do not know why I didn't say, yeah, let's get back together, break it off with him. We had a nice little talk. I said, I hope you're happy. I don't remember the details of the phone call, but it ended cordially, but it didn't go anywhere. And I'm sure she wanted it too. And to this day, I don't know why. Maybe it's because my life ended up where it should be. I mean, I'm happily married now for it'll be 30 years this November. We got a great family, but not that long after that, I met my ex-wife. We dated, we got married. We both knew it wasn't right. We didn't tell each other that. We told each other that years later after we were divorced, that it didn't feel right. And if you're familiar with the Mormon church, you get married in the temple. And when you're in that little room and everybody's around you and they're all dressed in white, and it's too intense to say, no, I don't want to do this, which is what my brain was screaming at me, because I was so still in love with this girl. And this is damn near a year and a half later. And it turned out that my ex-wife was still pretty hooked on her ex-boyfriend as well. And so I think that marriage was kind of doomed from the start. We were not very compatible. We were friends. We were already friends. We had hung out, and she was cute and we had fun together. But I remember telling her near the beginning of dating that I wasn't interested in any kind of serious relationship with her. And next thing I know, we're getting married. But the relationship in my head still with this girl from the past just made it so that marriage was never, I mean, like I said, I don't think it was meant to be anyway, but it led me to where I am now. And so maybe that's why I never talked her out of marrying the guy. But I tell the story and it doesn't seem real, but this one, like I did a story a couple ago where I was like, I wonder sometimes, is this real? Did this really happen? And as I told that story, I was convinced it did happen. This I have zero doubt about. I remember this so clearly and so well. But what do you think? I mean, to me, our minds, something, our bodies, our souls, something connected over all those miles. And something set off those dreams in both of us at the same time. After months of not talking or seeing each other, it'd been a year since we'd seen each other. I still think about it and I'm like, that was so intense. It was one of the most intense, what's the right word, sensual moments of my life. It was just, there was nothing going on. We weren't in the same room. We were 1,300 miles apart, whatever we were. Nothing was happening, but it was just so intense. And I don't know why I didn't say anything. I'm not sure what happened to her. I've never seen her since. I've had a couple friends that have seen her. I heard that she ended up getting divorced, but I don't know for sure that that's true. I hope she's happy. She was a cool girl. We had a lot of fun together. She was very snarky, which I was very snarky at the time. Where we grew up, everybody was snarky. So we had a lot of fun together. And even though the whole thing only lasted, 6 months? She was the one that got away. But I'm glad she did. Because if I had gotten with her and married her, I would have never met my wife. I think, circumstances would have been completely different. I'd have moved back to Canada. It would have been impossible for me to meet my wife because I wouldn't have married my ex-wife. I wouldn't have gotten divorced from her. I wouldn't have had my buddy set me up with her. So I believe that there is something bigger in the universe that connects us and maybe leads us down a path. Is it all laid out ahead of time? Is it fate? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know all that, but I thought it was kind of a cool story. I hope you liked it. I'd love to hear if you have. So many of you reach out and say, had similar experiences, and I love reading the comments, and especially when you have kind of similar experiences. So I'm going to try and upload this video. I have such crappy service here. I I had to go to McDonald's today to have lunch just to get Wi-Fi that was strong enough to upload my last video. So I'll see what I can do. But that's long enough. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe it springs up some memories in your head, things you've forgotten about. So thanks for watching. Y'all are cool. I dig it so much. Tack för denna gång. Vi snackas igen snart. Hoppas alla har det gott. Oh, by the way, just a side note, this is kind of a downer, but I mentioned a couple of videos ago, that my cousin, she's older than me, she's 69. I talked to her a couple of weeks ago. She was dying of cancer, and she told me she didn't have very long to live. And I said, you're gonna make it, because I'm coming this summer, and we're gonna hang out. And I know she got a kick out of that, but she didn't make it. And I hope she's in a really good place, because she's a really good person. Sorry, didn't mean to bring it down after that kind of fun story, but shout out my bleat. Tänk på dig. Peace.